Does education matter that much? What a jerk. I was played by a man like this.
That was 20 years ago. I had just quit my part-time job after discovering I was pregnant with the child of my banker husband. Carrying my loving husband's baby, that alone would have been enough. But my husband got my beautiful, highly educated younger sister pregnant and left me.
Your kid would be a disgrace. I'll choose a promising child from intelligent parents.
When he handed me the divorce papers with those words, I was filled with rage and heartbreak. Somehow, I swallowed it down and signed the papers. My sister, sitting next to my now ex-husband, looked at me and sneered. I hadn't married him just because he was the son of a prominent banker. It was because I loved him, which made the betrayal all the more painful. Being abandoned by him was devastating. I felt sorry for the child growing inside me, but when I returned to my parents' home, they welcomed me back with open arms. 20 years later, I ran into my ex-husband by chance at a bank.
Do you need money?
He persistently approached me. It was then.
Mom.
My daughter ran up to me, and my ex-husband was visibly shaken. That was 20 years ago. My name is Nancy. I was 22 years old at the time, a high school graduate working part-time while supporting my husband. My husband, Mark, the son of a prominent banker, shared my interests, and just being together was enough for me. I wasn't working part-time because we were struggling financially. But staying home alone all day was boring, so with Mark's permission, I took a part-time job. One day, on my day off, I felt something unusual in my abdomen and rushed to the OBGYN. I hadn't been feeling well. That's when I learned I was pregnant. The doctor told me the baby was growing healthily. Whether it was a boy or a girl, the idea of having Mark's baby filled me with pure joy as I headed home.
How should I tell Mark? The baby could take over his business in the future. It's important. I need to handle this carefully. But oh, I'm so glad. I finally managed to get pregnant with Mark's child.
However, at home, I found my beautiful, highly educated younger sister, Michelle, who was 2 years younger than me, sitting with my husband, Mark.
Why is Michelle here? She's usually lazing around at Mom and Dad's place. I have a bad feeling about this. Michelle, it's been a while.
I greeted her, but she scoffed at me. My bad feeling was spot on.
I got Michelle pregnant. I'm divorcing you. Pack your stuff and get out. Don't come back. I'll pay you as much alimony as you want.
Sorry, sis. I stole your husband. But you're so dumb. I mean, you're a high school graduate, and you couldn't even get into college. Kind of pitiful. But hey, I'm having Mark's baby now.
I burst into tears, protesting, I'm pregnant too. But Michelle laughed cruelly, and Mark just looked down on me. With no other choice, I returned to my parents' home. Luckily, Mark at least acknowledged the child and provided a substantial alimony payment, so my future wasn't in jeopardy. 20 years later, I was at a bank withdrawing money when I ran into Mark by chance.
Hey, Nancy, it's me, Mark. What are you doing at a big bank like this? Need money? Coming to beg for a loan? No bank would ever lend money to someone like you, still as ugly and classless as ever. Go on, crawl back to your broke little home. This isn't a place for you. Or wait, Did you blow through all the alimony I gave you on gambling or something? Man, people like you with no sense of money are the worst.
Ignoring his taunts, my eyes caught the magazine he was holding. The model on that cover.
Oh, this model is Susan. Unlike a fat, ugly mess like you, she's at Harvard, a world-famous model, and super popular right now. I'm her biggest fan. She's my favorite, a class above someone like you. Man, I'd love to meet her. She's my idol.
Mom,
Just then, a gorgeous young woman walked into the bank. I called out to her by name. Susan.
What? Susan? Wait, this woman is.
nice to meet you. I'm Susan. Mom, is this someone you know?
Mark's mouth hung open like a fish gasping for air. No wonder he was shocked. His favorite model just called me Mom.
Wait a minute. Susan, what's going on here? How do you two know each other? Why is Susan here?
What are you talking about? Susan is my daughter, the daughter you abandoned. Susan, this man here, he's your father. Remember I told you before, the despicable man who got your aunt pregnant and threw me out.
Oh, so this is my dad? He doesn't seem like a good match for you, Mom. I mean, that tie is tacky, and his outfit is just plain bad taste. It's like he's drowning in designer labels. Not my type at all.
What?
Hearing his beloved model judge him, Mark was visibly shaken.
Oh, by the way, Mom, I recently got some info. This bank is about to go under. Apparently, even though it's a bank, they're out of money and borrowing from other banks. Weird, right? You'd think a big institution like this wouldn't be on the edge of collapse. That's why you should move your savings to another bank right away. I mean, with a bank president who seems this dumb, it's got to be a hassle for the employees too. Your savings are around $5 million now, right? You've worked so hard every day to build that up. Better transfer it to a different bank while you still can. And hey, you there, you have terrible taste. I'll never call someone like you my father. You gross me out, so don't even say my name.
You're always so sharp, Susan. Your info has never been wrong. I'll arrange to transfer the money to another bank soon. You're so smart. You're such a big help to me, sweetie.
Your $5 million. Well, that must be money Susan earned. Guess the saying is true. Parents rely on their kids when they get old.
Excuse me? Are you serious? Mom's a world-renowned photographer. She's published over 100 books, shoots landscapes and wildlife, and is famous on TV. You're the only one who doesn't know that. How embarrassing. Mom earns way more than I do and works incredibly hard. Unlike you, who looks like you've never made an effort in your life. I bet you just coasted through on your dad's coattails as the son of a banker. I have zero interest in people who don't work hard. And by the way, hitting on my aunt while married to my mom? You're just a shameless, desperate man. Oh, and I overheard you saying you're my fan? Yeah, no thanks. It'd creep me out to have someone like you following me. Quit being my fan immediately. Don't ever come to my signings or events. It's gross.
Mark's face twisted with frustration as he listened to Susan's remarks. Susan, noticing, smirked at him mockingly.
By the way, the bank president's son, he's technically my cousin, right? He seems to be getting into trouble again.
What, really, Susan?
According to my sources, he's been shoplifting, using drugs, and gambling at illegal casinos. He's throwing money around like it's water, living it up. But then again, just look at his dad's gaudy, tacky fashion sense. Like father, like son, right? The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. I hear someone's been working behind the scenes to keep the cops from finding out, but how long do you think that'll last? Hey, you. If I wanted to, I could report it all. Oh, but that's not a threat. It's just a warning. Stop bothering my mom. Your sleazy, trashy behavior will only hurt her. Seriously, when someone at the top is this clueless, it must be miserable for the employees and close staff. I almost feel bad for this bank. By the way, I have an IQ of 250. Yes, I'm one of the geniuses. But I have to ask, is your son even remotely smart? Does he have what it takes to run this bank one day?
Mind your own business. Susan, how can you be this rude? Do you know how many of your fans would be shocked to hear you talk like this? And I'm your father, for crying out loud. How can you insult me like that?
But you're divorced, right? Oh, and let's not forget. It was a home-wrecking marriage with my aunt. This bank may be a big institution, but if word of that spreads, who do you think will be in trouble? You're not the only one holding secrets. If you badmouth me, I'll do whatever it takes to fight back.
Mark, who are these people?
Just then, a man and a woman dressed in designer clothes approached. I was stunned when I saw the woman. Wait, Michelle, it's you, isn't it?
Sis, what are you doing here talking to Mark? You're useless now, so stop using this bank. Or what? Did you come begging Mark for money?
Her condescending attitude hadn't changed one bit. The man next to her resembled Mark. He's likely Michelle and Mark's son. He looked at Susan with wide eyes, his face lighting up.
Wait, Susan? Is this real? Susan's actually here. Could you sign my phone? I'm a huge fan.
Like mother, like son, you know? You're both so basic.
Susan shot a cold glance at their son.
By the way, Sonny? What college do you go to? Wait, do you even know? Your parents dumped my mom to run off together for a stolen marriage. Fans like you? No thanks. Get lost, rich boy.
Wait, Dad, Mom, is that true?
Mark and Michelle avoided his gaze, clearly trying not to meet his eyes. Their son seemed completely unaware of the history.
I go to Scott University.
Scott University? That's just a playground for rich kids. Oh wow, so you're not even from a good school? I'm on break right now from Harvard. The classes are challenging, and the campus life is amazing. But Scott University? A third-rate school like that? I can't believe you'd even admit it. And you over there, Aunt Michelle? I know all about you. Sure, you're considered smart around here, but you couldn't even get into Harvard, right? People at Harvard still talk about it, you know? That lady who had such a bad accent that no one thought she was speaking English. How did you even dare to apply? Well, I guess you're smart in this area, but I'm at Harvard now. Honestly, it took a lot of effort to hide the fact that I'm related to someone like you. You tried to get into a university without even being able to speak proper English? You know what? One of the professors on the admissions panel for your interview is my advisor, and they said your English was at a 3-year-old's level.
Harvard, are you serious?
My sister, Michelle, attended a prestigious private college in this town, But Susan's words shattered that pride into tiny pieces.
So, Sonny, who's smarter, you or me? Well, my IQ is 250. What's your GPA?
When my son nervously shared his GPA, Susan laughed.
That's hilarious. Like father, like son. Both of you end up at a third-rate school. Oh, and let's not forget. Your dad got expelled for failing too many times. Yeah, I know all about it. Don't underestimate my network. Unlike your family, I have the pride of a genius. And if you even try to post anything about me online, I'll destroy you. Mom, let's go. Talking to this brainless family is making me feel dumber by association.
You're right. Let's leave. Rescheduling that bank transfer can wait. Goodbye, Michelle and Mark. Try to get along, okay? Take care. I walked out of the bank with Susan.
That felt great. I mean, I knew the story about your ex-husband, but seriously, what a trashy guy. Mom, divorcing him was the best decision you ever made. And your aunt? Oh my gosh, what a joke. All that makeup, outdated fashion, and gaudy jewelry that doesn't match her age. Don't you think so too, Mom? And the fact that she actually flunked out of Harvard turns out it's true. Everyone still talks about her 3-year-old level English.
Seeing Emma so pleased, I thanked her. Thank you, Susan. I feel so much better now. I could never stand up for myself when I was married. I'm so glad you've grown up to be so strong.
No, Mom, it's because you worked so hard raising me while holding down a job. I want to help you, so I'm going to keep working hard at school and in my career. To be honest, I was curious about my dad, but after seeing that, I'm over it. And that family, going to that third-rate Scott University? It's just a rich kid's school. Plus, my dad got expelled for failing too much. On top of that, they have this nasty vibe like they enjoy putting others down. I wouldn't want to be friends with people like them.
By the way, how did you find out all that dirt on their son? Your network is amazing.
Well, you know how I work as a model? I don't have unlimited resources, but I hired a private investigator recently. And they dug up some dirt on him. I have my limits, but there's no way I'm letting anyone think I'm part of that family.
I felt so proud of my strong daughter. Now, I live with my parents in the same house. My parents don't want anything to do with Michelle anymore, and they're so proud of Susan. Plus, I'm managing with the settlement money Mark sent me, so the future looks secure. My daughter is so strong. I could never say what she did, but it's like she spoke for me. I'm truly grateful. When we got home, my mom was cooking while my dad read the newspaper.
Grandpa, I'm home.
Susan, it's here. The latest American Research Journal. I know you've been looking forward to it.
It arrived? Yes. I can't wait to read it. I wonder what it's about this time.
Okay, it's time for dinner. Nancy, Susan, help me set the table.
Hearing my mom's voice, we got to work preparing for dinner. This alone is enough to make me happy. But a few days later, Mark came to my parents' house. And this time, he didn't bring any assistants or a driver. He came completely alone. I braced myself and confronted Mark. What are you doing here? I'll call the police. To my surprise, Mark apologized to me.
I was wrong.
What?
I always assumed that if parents are exceptional, their kids will be too. But I was wrong. Your way of raising a child was right. and my son is a failure of parenting. And after marrying your sister, Michelle, I've realized something. She spends all our money on beauty treatments and ignores the household. On top of that, she flaunts her higher education, and I can't say anything, even though Susan is more educated than both of us. And she neglects our newborn son's upbringing, constantly asking me for money for luxury goods every day. Our son, without any structure or good habits, has started getting into trouble. And after that encounter with you the other day, Michelle got jealous of Susan and suddenly hired 3 tutors for him. But, of course, since he's never studied before, he can't even sit still at a desk. And as a result, he's become even more rebellious lately. You're a world-renowned photographer, aren't you? Could you recommend my son as a model? If he enters society as he is now, unable to study, he won't even survive. I'm begging you, let's get remarried. I'll completely cut ties with Michelle.
So what?
What? I mean, I want to remarry you.
So what? You chose my prettier and more educated sister over me, and now you want to swap. Do you think women are keychains? Or maybe interchangeable decorations to you? Mark, do you have any idea how much I've suffered because of you? When you chose Michelle, I was left with nothing and clawed my way up with blood, sweat, and tears to get where I am today. And now you want to remarry me. Susan and I are not your accessories. Isn't Michelle's beauty and education enough for you? Who made that choice? It was you. Or what? You married Michelle without knowing she wouldn't help around the house, and now you want to do over. That's a little shameless, don't you think? And seriously, you have no class. Begging like this, expecting me to jump with joy. That's ridiculous. Even when we were married, you kicked me out when I was pregnant with Susan. Like Susan said, talking to you is a waste of time. Honestly,
Mom, what's going on?
that's when Susan walked in.
Susan,
Oh, it's that old guy from before. Could you stop saying my name? You're gross, creepy, and just revolting. Are you here now because you're after Mom's savings? If so, that's seriously disgusting. Mom took care of me even after you abandoned us. And yet, you chose my aunt over her. You're the worst kind of shameless. And don't think I don't know. Your father, the former bank president, has already disowned you. Word is, he won't let your son take over either. Well, what do you expect? Scott University is a third-rate, or no, fourth-rate, school for dummies. If I were him, I wouldn't trust your son to run a bank.
how do you know that? Did you bug our house?
The world's smaller than you think. Your son's bad reputation is all over campus, you know? I didn't even need my network to hear about it. Your scandals and disgrace are so widespread, you're practically a celebrity. In a bad way, of course. Congratulations. Great PR for your bank, you know? Though, only in a negative sense.
Stop.
Get out. Nothing's going to change no matter how long you stay here. Maybe it's time you learn to actually put in some effort. By the way, do you even know why Mom only graduated high school?
What? She failed her college entrance exams.
You really believe that? Mom had to quit because Aunt Michelle was spending all the money on ballet and ballroom dancing lessons. Our mom has an IQ as high as mine, you know. If things had gone as they should, Harvard would have been her safety school.
Harvard, a safety school? No way. Even if money was an issue, there are scholarships and stuff. Don't make up lies you can't take back.
What are you talking about? Aunt Michelle's ridiculous dress expenses ate up Mom's tuition money. And even after that, Aunt Michelle never showed an ounce of gratitude. Do you know? Admitting you're paying off student loans drastically lowers your chances of getting married. Mom gave up even the thought of loans to secure her own happiness. You've toyed with people's lives, only to pick the prettier option in the end. You're a disgrace to humanity, you worthless man. Mom, let's call the police. This guy's practically a stalker now.
You're right.
Wait, let's talk. I'm not here to cause harm.
Hello? Police?
Hey, wait.
Shortly after, the police arrived and took Mark to the station, where he reportedly received a severe scolding. It's safe to say Mark won't be coming back to my parents' house again. I have to stand firm. I can't rely on Susan for everything. I need to become the kind of person who can confidently say no. Entertaining trash like him only drags me down. Nancy, pull yourself together. Your daughters and your own future depend on it. Susan's recognition as a model increases year by year. Her fans are affectionately called pizza. Because Susan once publicly declared, "I love pizza." This led to a surge in sales for this snack, and eventually, her fans adopted the nickname. I've even published photo collections featuring Susan. Susan continues to grow more beautiful, diligently studying, and gaining popularity even in Europe. I'm so glad I pursued photography when I was young. Both Susan and I are being acknowledged by so many people. I need to keep any stains like Mark and Michelle out of sight. Besides, who would ever side with those two after their affair? As long as Susan keeps shining, that's all that matters to me. But one day, something happened. Upon hearing the news, I rushed to the hospital. A car had run a red light and slammed into the side of a bus carrying Susan and other models. Susan. When I arrived at the hospital, Susan was there along with her tearful fellow models. Susan, are you okay? Are you hurt?
I'm fine, but one of the models has a broken bone. And the driver fled the scene. I'm so mad. We were supposed to shoot photos on the beach today.
Susan's injuries were minor. The manager, who had been driving, called the police immediately, but there wasn't much more we could do for now. The incident was reported on the news the following day.
Could the perpetrator be an obsessive fan?
That's a possibility, yes.
Among the models on the bus was Susan, wasn't she?
Yes, and there's been growing concern about obsessive international fans recently.
Hopefully, the perpetrator will be caught soon.
Although Susan escaped with only minor injuries, she was deeply shaken. She became fearful of getting into cars. Online, some accused Susan of using the incident for publicity. But I wasn't about to let it slide. I made it a point to demand apologies from those anonymous attackers. Then the phone rang. It was the manager. Susan, they caught the driver.
What?
Susan looked completely stunned. She hadn't expected the culprit to be found. It was Mark and Michelle's son, along with one of his friends. Apparently, one of your fellow models had posted something on social media that revealed your location, and that's how they found you. Then they decided to ram the car. But this wasn't your fault. Susan, you didn't do anything wrong. Mom will always stand by your side. Later, Susan returned to modeling. Her incident became a social issue, sparking debates among commentators about how much personal information should be shared on social media. Naturally, Mark and Michelle's son and his friend were arrested. Every day, reporters swarmed Mark's house, chasing delivery drivers and anyone who came to the door. They brought this on themselves, neglecting their child's education and leaving him to his own devices. Michelle, you might have become a mother, but you never became a parent. True parents apologize for the sake of their kids. But you couldn't do that, could you? I wonder what will happen to Mark's bank. Losing trust and going bankrupt seems inevitable, and I've already heard about many employees resigning. But they hurt my precious Susan. They need to pay for their crimes. Eventually, some media outlets caught wind of the story and started hounding Susan and me as well.
Is it true the son is a half-sibling?
Were you involved in a marriage scandal?
Nancy, how do you feel about all this?
What are your plans for work?
I handled the media with sincerity. Susan and I have nothing to run from. I should face the press with confidence. As a result, people appreciated our honest approach, and the public started leaving us in peace. However, Susan's fans, the pizza, have been harshly criticizing Mark's son online. While they aren't causing riots, they're definitely angry. And as expected, Mark's bank lost all credibility. Business partners dropped them one by one, and the bank eventually went bankrupt. Mark hastily held a press conference, mumbling something barely audible. When reporters shouted, "We can't hear you," he left, citing poor health, leaving his father to handle the situation. The bank was flooded with people demanding their money back. Some were retirees who relied on their accounts for their pensions and couldn't withdraw funds. Mark and Michelle reportedly planned to flee overseas to escape persistent media attention, but their housekeeper sold their plans to the press. Reporters kept watch on their home day and night. To think they had a traitor in their own house, how fittingly tragic for Mark and Michelle. But this is the result of their actions. Serves them right, doesn't it? Susan seems to be healing emotionally. Her fans, the pizza, continue to support her. Even the model who broke her leg has returned to work, and it's time for me to get back to mine. Then one day, I received an unexpected job offer. It was a proposal to publish a memoir novel about Susan's and my lives. After an hour-long interview, the memoir sold 1 million copies in no time. The pizza fans were the main buyers, flooding the internet with messages of encouragement for Susan.
I need to stop slacking and get to work.
You'll be heading back to your university soon, right? I'll see you off. I know you're busy with work, but I'll always cheer you on, Mom.
Thank you.
Finally, the day Susan left for her university arrived. Somehow, word leaked, and the pizza gathered at the airport to see her off.
Thank you, everyone. I'll do my best.
Susan.
Don't give up.
We're rooting for you.
And so, my proud daughter left. After seeing Susan off, Michelle came to my house. She had apparently snuck out through the neighbor's yard to escape from her own home.
Nancy, help me. I'm practically under house arrest. I can't take this life anymore. It's not for me.
Oh, is this the same Michelle who stole someone's husband and raised a delinquent son? Too bad, but I don't have a sister anymore. Who are you again? Please leave.
Don't say that, please, Dad.
I firmly shut the front door so my father inside the house wouldn't hear. Then I asked her with a biting tone, "Meet Dad, just so he can yell at you. No one in this house is going to understand you. Isn't it time to give up? Just go. I'm busy." I have a trip to Europe coming up for a photography project. Go on, leave already. Or do you want me to call the press? Isn't this exactly what happens when you can't handle things properly? I made sure to deal with the media seriously. But would you even understand that?
Please, even as a baggage handler, just take me to Europe with you. I can't survive in America anymore.
Enough. Do you have any idea how lonely Susan was without a father? I don't care whether you tempted Mark or Mark tempted you, but you're nothing but a nuisance. Just leave my property already. You're nothing but a pathetic woman clinging to your education. With that, I stepped back inside and locked the door. From the other side of the door, I could hear soft sobbing, but I decided this was for the best.